Hello, community composters. My name is Mateo Garcia. I am the data analyst for the DCCCP, and today I'm going to walk you through your community composter orientation for the Detroit Community Composting Collective project. We're going to go over a variety of topics, including what is the DCCCP? What is compost? Why do we want it decentralized? How to use your muck bucket? A brief research overview. And finally, we'll wrap up with a shared vision for the future. And so we ask, what is the DCCCP? It stands for the Detroit Community Composting Collective. It is a conglomerate of a variety of organizations, such as Oakland Avenue, Sanctuary Farms, Detroit Black Community Food Sovereignty Network, Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund, Detroit Food Policy Council, and Industrious Labs. It is based on urban agriculture, environmental justice, and advancing organic waste diversion within the city of Detroit. And we ask ourselves, what is compost? Compost is the aerobic decomposition of organic waste, turning things like food scraps, yard waste, anything that has organic carbon in it. It's the process of turning said material from waste into a stable soil amendment, an amendment that can increase water holding capacity, improve drainage, provide nutrients for plants, and much more. By helping us divert this waste, ideally, farms and other people around Detroit will be able to turn your waste into an amendment to help better the community around themselves. And so in picking up your materials, each of you have probably received your muck bucket. This bucket is for your use to collect your food scraps and weekly bring them to your assigned farm for them to be turned into compost. One trick of the trade that I would recommend is keeping your lid on until you are ready to either throw your food scraps in it or bring it to the farm. Some people like to actually keep their food scraps in the freezer so they don't get smelly over the course of a couple of weeks. But you can do whichever practice might work best for your kitchen space. We have a few do's and don'ts as far as using your muck bucket. Please do put food scraps in the muck bucket. Rotten vegetables, coffee grounds, eggshells. If you feel so inclined, you can put a little bit of yard waste in there as well. However, it's important to remember that there are certain things that cannot go into compost. Animal waste, such as dog droppings, cooking oil and grease, very large cuts of meat, bleached paper products, anything that might have pesticides or herbicides or synthetic chemicals that'll kill the microbes that are breaking down our waste and turning it into compost. We do not want those. So again, food scraps, vegetable waste, potentially lawn materials if you don't use synthetic chemicals. These things can all go in your muck bucket and can all be delivered to the farm that you have been assigned to. As far as drop-off communication, each farm is going to have their own specific drop-off date. These should be assigned to you already or will be assigned in the coming days. Don't forget to either contact your farm or Ricky Blanding, who is our outreach coordinator, if issues arise as far as getting the details about drop-off or communication with the specific farm. Feel free to contact Ricky. His number is on this slide for your help. And now we're going to segue over into the data overview. In participating in this pilot, we are attempting to ask you guys a few questions in order to help us answer some larger questions about Detroit and its organic waste environment. We have a few driving questions that are shaping the questions that we're going to ask you guys. Things like quantity. How much compost and food waste can the farms of Detroit create? How much food waste can the people within our pilot actually divert? Quality. We want to make sure that we're not only producing a large amount of compost, but also that we're doing it in a safe manner, in a manner that doesn't attract pests, in a manner that is safe for the environment. We want to also gauge impact. What is the economic analysis of all this compost that's getting created? Potentially, how much food or revenue could our farms around Detroit gain by facilitating the decomposition of food waste in their communities around them? And lastly, trying to assess the potential. What is it going to take in order to become a zero waste city in Detroit? What will it mean to have mass scale organics diversion in a relatively decentralized manner? These are all questions that we're trying to ask with this pilot, and we greatly appreciate your participation. Specifically, though, for you backyard composters, you guys are going to help us in the quantity section by dropping off weekly or at least as much as we can and filling out the form. We can ask the question, how much food waste do Detroiters generate? And then from your food waste, we're going to see how much compost could we make from it. This is done by you guys just dropping off food and logging weekly if you dropped off or not. And then we come to the question of quality. Can community composters process waste safely? You guys will not necessarily take part of this, although if you really are interested in the composting process, I would recommend reaching out to Ricky again and seeing how you can help the farms around you. Specifically, we're going to ask the question with you guys, does backyard composting have an effect on vermin issues? And you're going to say, wait, Mateo, I am a community composter, not a backyard composter. And that is correct. But we are going to ask you guys to fill out these weekly surveys just about pests that you see around your outdoor space. They're going to be strictly observational, and your answers will be referenced against backyard composters. In the academic world, we call this a control group and a treatment. You guys are the control. There is no backyard composting on your lots or in your parking lot, and so we're going to ask, are the results of people who aren't composting different from the results of people who are composting in their backyard? Again, these surveys are strictly observational. We're not asking you to camp out. You don't need a trail cam. It's just, do you see this? Do you not? And how much time did you spend outside? We are going to ask you guys to identify a variety of rodents, just so we can kind of get an idea of what these populations of rodents that hang around our compost piles look like. Our first suspect is the Norway rat, also known as the brown rat. As you guys can see, it repopulates pretty quickly. And so they're very abundant around human structures. They love to burrow into ground. So if you have nice uncompacted dirt in your lot, you might see rat holes. And they're around 6 to 8 inches long. Our second suspect is the mouse. There are a variety of species of mouse in Detroit, and so we're not going to ask you for information regarding which specific mouse species, but you should note that while very similar to the rat, they, in my opinion, look a little bit cuter. You can see that the mouse has a much less pointy nose and larger ears in comparison to its rat cousin. You can also see that the mouse's ears are much more circular, whereas the rat's are a little bit pointy. Similarly, the Norway rat is quite a bit larger than your average mouse that you'll find in Detroit. Our third animal that we're going to ask you to look for, a raccoon. I'm sure you've seen these guys. Um, they're a lot more friendly than our rats and mice, right? Classic house bandits. But we'd like to see if you see these guys as well. Um, the opossum. This is actually North America's only marsupial. It keeps its young in a pouch. I'm sure many of you guys have seen this one before, often characterized by the white face and pink tail. And lastly, the groundhog. It also likes to burrow. Some people say it can predict the weather. I'm not so sure. We're going to ask you guys, see if you can point it out. We'd love to hear your feedback. And so, coming back around, we've asked you to take this data, we've given you some instructions, and we come back to why. Why are we asking you all to engage in this pilot in the first place? Well, we want to increase the amount of organic waste diverted within Detroit. And there are a lot of financial barriers to doing that. But Detroit, in some ways, already has the infrastructure to process a lot of waste. There are farms around the city, both permitted and not, that could use compost as a valuable soil amendment. And so when we envision a waste-free Detroit, why would we not allow the small businesses, the small farms around the city to make use of the waste that we create? Why would we send this waste far outside the city to be processed? Why would we pay people to come take it in trucks and bring it miles and miles outside of the city? How do we ensure a just and equitable distribution of the wealth of waste? And so that is why we're looking at this pilot into decentralized composting. We want to create space for Detroiters to take their waste and turn it into bread. I appreciate you all sitting down with me today and hearing me talk and listening to my lecture. If you guys have any further questions about data, feel free to contact me. My name, again, is Mateo Garcia. My contact info is here. If you have any questions about dropping food off, feel free to reach out to our outreach coordinator, Ricky Blanding. His contact also listed here. I hope you all have a blessed day and take care.